All right. So this is the luxury of living in the public world, in the new world that was ushered in by this new law called what? Internet. Comes after the attack. Internet transparency. I think we're talking about internet transparency. And if we're going to have a serious discussion about internet transparency, it can't be like, you know, psychology. Psychology is about people who behave in different ways. And we're trying to block a certain type of behavior. Okay, but on what grounds? On the grounds that it annoys me. Okay, so have you been harmed? That's the first thing a police officer is going to ask. They're going to say, have you been harmed? And if you go to the court, the first thing they're going to ask is about damage. So first you have to prove there was damage. All right, so now if you're claiming there's damage, are you asking for damages? Or are you asking for what? Like, what is your request? So I don't really understand the whole argument. Anyway, so as you can see, Hillsdale, they sent me an email with a video in it, and I was listening to these guys. They sounded very, very, very smart, and they were very structural in their thinking, and they knew their stuff. And I didn't get to the second part of the video. I guess they're going to start talking about some aspect of commerce or civil rights. I can't remember. And then what's going on in Alberta? That pops up sometimes. Anyways, I chose to listen to this song. And I heard the first couple minutes of this. I watched some videos, Toronto 1958. I watched this short, and I remember I made a comment. This one popped up, I don't know. This atheist guy, he just seemed like pretty relaxed. I don't think he really tells people about his personal faith. He's just like, okay, yeah, I can see your perspective, and, it's quite detailed, your perspective. Anyways, it also threw up one of Peterson's early pieces. I don't know if it was on this channel. Maybe I watched it on my other YouTube channel. There was some... I didn't get through that, so I don't really know about it yet. I got this one student. She's got this. She has a bunch of automating systems for like Google AdWords, and she makes websites, and then she increases the gravity of those websites through keywords, helps you to develop some type of strategy about writing blog articles, and then she connects those blog articles to Google search, so she gets both the paid traffic and also the organic traffic. And there's a Russian company that they're like these top of the line like athletes in Russia, and they're like, we want to make a fitness video. So I was like, we got to go over the history of fitness videos. Charlene Prickett is number one. We're just barely talking about TV. And then Jazzercise. We talked about Christians, how there's like been a long tradition of dancing for most Christian organizations. And so when you talk about dance, the ladies would be a lot happier if it has something to do with dancing. It doesn't have to be violent. And we talk about deliberate practice. I listened to my thing. So it comes after this. Yeah, it's not on this. Anyways, it was like the first hour of Jordan Peterson's, like, he's a little wet behind the ears. He's got this redhead complexion. So he's got this bright, shiny hair, and he's just like blushing almost. And he's just like, look how smart I am. It was crazy. He's just throwing it down. And it's like, wait a minute, how old is that guy? And he's just throwing it down. So, anyways, like, it's interesting because he even used the word proclivities back then. And at least he used it once. Now he uses it like every other sentence. And the weird thing hold on a second, is he's talking about the same thing. He's like, all right, so look, I think this is what he's really trying to say, like deep down. He's like, look, there's these great thinkers, and they were able to call something that happened in the future with clarity, and they explained how psychology would react in this way in society. And then when you realize, okay, so he's been talking about the story for so long, so it means that he also wants to have the ability to make a claim about the future, and he's hoping that his claim's right. Also, he's hoping to fight that claim because he feels like there's some aspects of the future society that might be benefited by an understanding of certain types of behavior. And particularly, he claims that the world seems to constantly choose violence and violence and violence and violence and control and pillage and rape and destroy and kill and, I mean, because he doesn't have a background in Mormon theology, he doesn't really understand how to express that in a more practical way. Like when he talks about Cain, he's like over dramatic, and it's more like, Gordon, why are you making all that? Gordon found a girlfriend, and I'm not letting them hang out, so I gotta whip him once in a while. That whip might come up soon. Depends on how much he cries. So the idea from Cain is quite simple. It's simply somebody who makes an agreement with other people. And then we have two channels. So we have the agreements that God introduces, and then we have the agreement which Satan introduces. And the agreement which Satan introduces is simply to agree with each other that we're going to tell the same story, and the story is going to corroborate our whereabouts when we conduct an act of violence for the purpose of gain. And in this case, violence means death. It means Gordon's dying. Gordon, are you dying? So, in our religious tradition, there's stories about this, and they claim that this secret combination is something that is revealed by Satan. So he has this thing, this element, and he says, all right, this is what we do to gain power. We have a secret agreement so that we can kill and get gain. So what's the alternative? The alternative is to work and get gain. So it's not like, sometimes people are like story time. And Richard Dawkins, he's like listening and he's like, you're a little bit over dramatic. And Jordan Peterson's like, you're not even dramatic enough. Anyways, I gotta go.